Good morning, folks. How's things? Welcome along to the LWB Club Champ Pod. We are having one or two little technical difficulties, Wi-Fi issues here this morning. So hopefully things carry for the next foreseeable. If not, we might have to break the link and stick up a new one again. Not the only one having tech issues this morning. Joe had tech issues as well, namely not being able to find the laptop. But thankfully, you pulled it out of the bag. Morning, Joe. How are you?
Good Kev, yeah. One of those days, all right. That's what you get for tidying up a house, isn't it?
That's the choice, yeah. Everyone, that's a lesson to everyone, I suppose. Just let the stuff where it is, lads. It'll sort itself out. Stevie, how are you keeping?
Looks like Kev is frozen in space.
No Wi-Fi issues here
I'll
anymore.
start first, please.
Yep.
Yeah, there's serious Wi-Fi issues over here, so we might have to pull the handbrake on this in a moment, or else you lads will have to carry it and I'll have to sit backstage for a minute. I might actually do that. I'm sorry for throwing you in on the show. I just want to sort out these couple of things. So I'll lay the two on screen and I'll segue by saying, first of all, if you can still hear me, just hard luck. Two great semi-finals, it has to be said. While the big story, I suppose, is Biddenstown getting to a county final, we will start with Ballinkillen, seeing as we have you on screen. We have said hard luck. Obviously not much in it in the end. Things weren't looking good for Ballinkillen at half time, Joe. They fought back gamely in the second half, but ultimately just came up short.
Yeah, that's a very fair assessment, Kevin. We got rocked. I think we got rocked the way maybe St. Mullins got rocked against us in the group game. We got caught for early scores, early goals. I suppose the first one was only a minute in, Stevie, wasn't it? The Paddy Bowles
20
goal
seconds,
was only a minute in.
Yeah, Ger Cody shot. Actually, I thought it was Jack Kavanagh's Ger Cody shot at the post, and fairness was great reactions by Paddy Ball, and Thomas Dolan hadn't the chance. You never even seen it.
No. There was no. He got to the break first, and just one of those lucky things, I suppose. And he reacted, and I suppose that put us in the back foot, really, didn't it? And they hit. They kind of. I think it. The second goal as well, I think, was something. I think when lads look back on it, that little, that switching off or falling asleep as well for that free. It's great thinking if you're say Mullins or any team, and you get the chance to do it. Kind of a shot to nothing, and it was more than a shot to nothing, but it was, put us on the back foot. Probably where I was looking at it, Stevie, I'd say we were probably lucky to go in only 6 points down at half time. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, I suppose the second goal, as you said, we'll call a quick think from James Dyle as well, and John Dyle to be thinking that they're both about 6 ways each, the first half. But the thing I thought about Ballinkillen were chasing the game. Kieran Wheel didn't get into it. There was 20 minutes gone, and say again, he got a decent bit of ball in his hand, and he needs to be leading the attack. And Choo got a couple of points. Then he took 2 or 3 shots off his weaker side, and they were scuttery old wides. There's no wide a good wide, but they were bad ones, and they were kind of sucked a bit of life out of the team. The start the second half, you were expecting a kick in him, and the kick came and quick. But the only thing about it was they never got to lead on for about 30 seconds. Barely 30 seconds after Craig Wall's goal, it didn't get a chance to build on the lead. Whereas Bangson Gales in the first game, once they got on the lead in the second half, they got on the lead a couple of times, they got level, and we lost them maybe once or twice. But they got some bit of it takes some effort to get back from a 6 or 7 point deficit to get level, go ahead. But then you need to be given it. Stay ahead is the next thing. But just going through, Jack Tracy, probably, if the good got more ball into him, he'd look to have, he Paul Dyle. Paul Dyle pulled out well away from the goal. It wasn't as if he was in the edge of the square doing harm. And Jack has been good the whole year. Just felt, the ball didn't get in within as much as it could possibly, I suppose. But he felt every time he got the ball in his hand, he was a serious threat. And just when they're chasing the game like that, and every time, someone's had to respond then as well. And I think the wind up, Ballinkillen only won the second half, but someone's at 4. No, there was a dispute. Someone said the far side, one of John Dyle's shots was inside the post. That's some of these calls go against you or with you. And the last 3, who do you want under? And John Dyle, 6'4" or 5, caught the ball, drew the free, and that's the St. Mullins in the county final. The Ballinkillen look back on it, was 4 or 5 probably little mistakes or hand passes went astray, and every time they were punished. balls come off the post, the goal. Like, look, that wouldn't call it free, good finish. Was it Philip Connors got a point as well? Came back off the post. Another one that he jinked back through, and he shouldn't have got the room to get it.
He actually lost the ball. He lost the ball. We tackled him well. He lost the ball, and he won his own ball after the ball.
Another day that wouldn't have happened if the early goal hadn't went in. The backs might have been that bit more settled. Dion not playing. Savage lost. I know he came on, but he wasn't anywhere near fit to play, I don't think. And you can blame everything after the match and all that, but just felt they were chasing the game the whole time. 4 points at the start, and then you're chasing. You needed to get that. If they got a point ahead, even for a couple of minutes, to ask more questions of Sam Mullins. But they were able to respond 30 seconds later, point, and like Craig Wall's goal, I didn't even know he was back in the country. The goal and the point, and Craig in other years he could do anything, and he did do anything yesterday. Done everything right. The 2 balls he got were savage scores and could have been enough. Any other day, they'd have been enough probably to get to a county final. Just yesterday, they weren't.
Mm-hmm. I know you remarked upon it there, lads, and sorry I had to dump you in there at the deep end. I should have mentioned the sponsors as well: Cork and Precast. Thanks, Stevie Recovery, Craig Carney Web Design, Balloons and Sweet Treats, Brendan Cabinet Furniture, and Breeze Nolan Physiotherapy. Thanks for the continued support. But yeah, going back to it, Joe, I think you summed it up fairly well. Like, the one thing that did stick with me was the concentration levels and how clued in I think St. Mullins were. In fairness, like you talk about, what was it? I think 23 seconds gone, maybe, when Paddy Boland put the ball in the net, ball off the post. The quick free, 35 yards out, I think it was, when he struck it, and John Doyle was on the 21. And then I think literally within a minute later, I have it noted here, another ball came down off the post, and what do you call it? Philip Connors got a score over. So that's 7 points from basic concentration, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're big variables. And I suppose when Stevie mentioned Dion there and the loss of that, like, massive. I don't know if that would have happened on his watch, because he's just such a leader back there. Himself and David in the middle, they conduct things. They have everything kind of, you know what I mean, down to a T. And I don't think that would have happened. Maybe it would have, but I don't know.
But I suppose he's lost, and it's kind of hard for us not to talk about the game without him, because he is a massive loss. He's our captain. He was phenomenal all year. I think he was, he was thereabouts the best fullback in the, if you're picking 3 in the fullback line in this year's championship, he was in it, I think. And I suppose it did disrupt us then. You had, Paddy Cavan had to go back cornerback from playing all year in the forward line. It would have been 2 years since Paddy played in the back line. Sorry, he would have played a little bit under 20, but in that senior setup. So there was, a lot of disruption to us before the game. And I suppose, maybe I might talk about that in a little while. But he was a massive loss. Like, in the second half, I think as well, what kind of gave us a platform as well, I thought maybe our 2 midfielders sat more defensively. And I think that gave us because I think St. Mullins had especially noticing it from puckouts, from their own puckouts and that. Our midfielders were high up the pitch and the ball was going in over them, whereas they sat very deep on the St. Mullins puckout in the second half, and it did cut off that supply. You have to credit as well the work rate. I mentioned in one of the episodes here before about the kind of the tackling of the St. Mullins players. It was phenomenal. Their energy levels. Some of the turnovers in the back line that did result in scores. If you're not getting bodies around Ballinkillen players, those turnovers aren't happening. You're not putting that pressure on, and their work rate was excellent. Their spread of scores as well. I mean, look, we talked about it before, last week, about different lads stepping up, different days, and about key battles. And I think I'm right in saying, Stevie, that the 6 starting forwards all scored, I think, from playing a midfielder and a half back. Would that be right?
Yeah, correct. And Ballinkillen, 4 starting forwards scored. And look, I think the other game as well, I think Bangor had 9 different scores and Rangers had 5, something like that now.
Yeah, I mean, you need those lads chipping in. You need, like, it kind of struck you the way St. Mullins forwards were playing yesterday as well. Every one of them was a danger. You might say some lad is kind of not in his game, and maybe he's not going well, or you want to keep your eye off him. You can't keep your eye off any of them, but every one of them were tuned in and on the ball yesterday. I thought as well, a big factor for me, I thought Jack Kavanagh had a fine game. Probably his best game in the championship. And
I kept it simple, and I just said, we were on the commentary yesterday, he was marking Choo the last day, and he's not a man marker. I know, whoever they were down Paul Doyle and a couple more at there. And like Chooch was going to score 3 or 4 points if anyone anyway. And that day, like he and Jack, like just simple, he got 2 points yesterday and was very close getting the third one. So after that, he got claimed the puck after scoring a point, and I said there wasn't too much in that being a third point. And when Jack is like that, like the ball, if the forwards, and I've seen the second game or the first game as well, a lot of midfielders' work is get a ball, and if the forwards are tuned in, a diagonal ball, once it's not head high, keep it down low, there's someone going to get a chance of getting it. If there's not like both games yesterday, there was no sweeper system at all. Nearly everyone was man for man. There was space. Like, if a ball was hit in desperation, I wouldn't call it, but that you didn't get a head up, that you knew there was someone possibly a chance. And Jack, like, if you were a midfielder, like neither of the midfielders of Ballinkin that had a shot at goal. They were carrying the ball more than directly from Jack. Jack had a couple of shots, probably 3 or 4 shots scored, who probably set up a couple of points as well. And that's, the things like that, you need the spread of scores. They can, like some girls, game I talk about, Jack McCullough and JP Tracy scored. They were when they needed them to go a point or two up. And, these are the way Kevin Cavan and Conor Clonmac's, they were carrying ball into enemy territory, we'll say. So that was where they were making hard yards.
And it was hard.
Direct.
It was hard yards. In fairness to the lads, they've been excellent this year. A new midfield pairing for us. In fairness, Cormac and Kevin, especially coming straight up out of minor. But I do think that St. Mullins had their homework done there. I think that they saw the influence that the lads had on us, that running game, and they didn't allow them.
Ger Cody gets more touches in and flicks and little things.
Great balls as well, yeah.
And he took a ball out of someone's hand there once. He literally, I don't know who was it for Ballinkillen, had the ball in their hand, and literally a split second later, Ger Cody has it in his hand.
That's right, yeah.
And he's going to be key in the final, whether he's going to be man marking someone or wherever he's going to be positioned for going forward by some girls. They're going to have to stop him doing a lot of work. And I think he gets very little. I wouldn't say very little credit, but
he does it every day. See, isn't it?
Every day.
You expect you're nearly kind of saying, well, sure, that's your
even
Cody,
the point he got. I think he dispossessed someone, and he was on the halfway line over the bar. That was in the first half, and all these little things add up at the end of the game. So
we can't forget, lads, that Ger is playing senior hurling. I think he's into his 10th season, and he's only probably 27.
Yeah,
he was centre back. Like he was only 17 or 18 in the final, and won it, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And another man I thought, yes, well, a few less stepped up, obviously. I thought Philip Connors is quite good. He picked off some good scores, obviously, and looked at Trey. All of them looked at Trey. A couple of things on St. Mullins, lads. I always feel it's very rare that St. Mullins fall out on the non-negotiables. I know that they're kind of buzzwords, but the hard work, we've alluded to it, like determination, the leader standing up. Like, I don't know, I'd like to look at the clock again. There must have been only a matter of seconds between Craig Wall's goal and Jack Kavanagh's point straight after that.
30 seconds.
That's huge.
That's what I was in it now. Literally 30 seconds.
You can't buy that sort of leadership, because that's huge momentum for Ballinkillen in that moment. And I suppose if you don't have a leader standing up, that's Ballinkillen pushing on and getting the next couple of scores. And Jack got the next one. And that, it stabilised things again straight away, I felt. And that's what leaders do. You have to give them credit. You called them knockout specialists last week, Joe, I think. And they always deliver, They
do always deliver. I suppose on the flip side, as a Ballinkillen man, you'd be hugely proud of how we reacted, I think, in that second half. We gave ourselves a 6-point turnaround against a team, a team of their caliber. Very, very proud of our lads, how they reacted.
First 3 scores of the second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, just 4, maybe 4. Yeah, I think we just really, we really got into it. Like you said, just the little things that when we made a mistake, we were punished yesterday. Basically, like we said, getting turned over on a ball, or the couple of balls off, the post, quick free. Anytime we weren't switched on or whatever. But you look at the character we showed in the second half. It was phenomenal. I suppose we have, looking to next year. Look, the lads have had a great year. They got their 4 wins out of 5 or whatever they got. So they showed that they're able to put results together this year. I mentioned it off air and to you, and I suppose it was a worry of mine, and I did mention it to you. I did worry about the what if scenario, and unfortunately that it did happen yesterday in terms of what we we probably had a very settled team this year, which was great in one way, but then we got thrown a kind of a curveball, just before this week with Dion's injury, and I think if without you're looking back in hindsight is great and you don't know what will happen, but you know I think we weren't ready. We weren't just ready for it. We had to make alterations to our team that affected maybe the team and the balance a little bit. And I suppose that was when we segueing into the next game. Like that was my big thing coming. That I was very. If you were a Bagenstown Gales player, looking at last week's game and how they managed their team and panel and maybe throughout the year, that was the one thing I worried a little bit for us. That did we have that depth or did we have that blend of a panel in order to carry an injury or carry a lad having a bad game, etc., etc. And it did shake us yesterday. You know what I mean? Dion's loss was massive, absolutely key to us. And but that's not taking anything from St. Mullins. They did what they had to do. They came out, they stopped us, they stopped our quick start, they put us on the back foot. But I thought the character we've shown was immense, and the lads have to be very, very, very proud of their effort. But like that's hurling for you. And big players step up on big days, and I think just maybe that, like we said, that St. Mullins extra little bit of work rate, that little bit of smartness, and like we said, that probably balance as well, that little better balance maybe in terms of their scoring power. Deservedly got them across the line, but that's hurling, that's sport for you. You lick your wounds and you get back on. Go again next year.
Something will come to after the second one as well as a general thing. Is just the bite in it. Like it was real. It was real
good hurling.
yesterday.
Yeah, it was two brilliant games.
Yeah, and I suppose the mad thing about it was like, no matter what happened in the first half of the second game yesterday, it was probably not going to match the heights of the first game because it was just a thriller. Like it was really good. But then the second half, just give it every bit as much bang for buck. Like two teams just really went at it, and that's what you wanted, because you know what, it mattered. I know we've been down this road before, but when nothing else matters, like you will go through a brick wall, or at least you should be wanting to go through a brick wall. And I think everyone wanted it yesterday. The leader stood up on both sides. Now, in fairness, I suppose I singled out Jack Kavanagh, but the big players on both sides stood up. And then in those situations, it's about who you get. The little bit. I suppose, as someone said to me before, you need your big players to be producing 8 or 8.5s out of 10 every game, and then if you can get the lads that aren't your big names to be producing in around a 7.5 or an 8 consistently, you're looking at success.
And I think that's where, and I've always said it. No, I don't mind saying it again. I think that's where St. Mullins probably are where they are and why they are, because they do that level of consistency across all the players. We've talked for years. We talked maybe when they won their couple in a row and they were very strong. And we always talked about Mouse and Seamus Murphy and Gary Bennett and Paddy and these lads. And a lot of them lads are gone. Weren't there yesterday.
Yeah.
And other lads step up to that level, and the same in big games. You know what I mean? And I think
And Joe, each individual plays to their own strengths. Like you don't see John Dial trying to do a 60-yard solo run, but you will see him feeling the ball out of the sky, looking for a shot, and if it's not on, he'll pop it off to someone. That sort of way. Like.
And by the way, that was one thing. The rotation, I think, of someone ringing from Marbella, Stevie.
I can hear it hopping there, so you can either answer and tell him to feck off, or I'll just go off the call.
Or put in silent, at least. I think the kind of rotation of the forwards, St. Mullins forwards, was good as well. I think they were always putting Ballinkillen backs. We didn't kind of man mark as such. Always putting them, giving them a new test, giving them something different to think about. When you're rotating, and I think that can be off-putting, or yourself, you think you have your handle on a lad, if you get me, and suddenly he moves around or he's gone from you or wherever else. And I think that was a good play. They were always keeping our backs guessing as well in terms of movement and that. And I think that's something I suppose we might talk about when we preview the final, because Bagenstown Gales man marked, I think, probably 4 or 6 forwards. the last day when St. Mullins and Bagenstown Gales met, and it'll be just interesting to see does that happen again.
Well done, St. Mullins, into another county final. Move on to the first of yesterday's semi-finals, and Bagenstown Gales prevailing against Westminster Rangers by 218 to 118. Now, lads, if you want 7-1 tips in a 2-horse race, follow the left wing back, listen to the left wing back, and namely, do not listen to these two other Ramadans who went with Westminster Rangers, lads.
I backed them.
Oh, okay, right. So publicly you say Rangers, and then privately,
my betting slip will show you I backed them.
Yeah. Oh, why didn't you tip here last week then?
And then
what did I say? What did I say?
Rangers.
And again, but on record, you know what I said off record. I said after our game last week, I said Bagenstown Gales are coming into the zone, the right place, and I said it would be a lot closer. All right, a lot closer. And
it was never a 7-1 game, lads.
Not at all, or a 5-1 game. I sent the tip halfway around the country. So I hope a few lads made money. I had them in a double, unfortunately, with Ballymillion. So I got let down. But anyway,
in fairness to our friend Stevie here, he put over the odds there yesterday morning, and was it 7-1 in Paddy's and 5-1 in Biles, or maybe the other way around, or something like that, Stevie. But I couldn't see that at all. Like for loving their money,
94,
you know what I mean? Like
for the final.
Yeah, you're trying to look at from. You're looking at all the games all year, and you'll be trying to look at the price yourself in your head and say, right, okay, Westminster Rangers are 10 titles and won Leinsters and everything and all their intermediates, and you're trying to kind of do it with leaving, both sets of teams fierce. Well, if you're giving odds yourself, what would you give? And just the difference in the price yesterday morning with Ladbrokes, I think was 4-1 and Paddy Post was 7-1.
You'd probably be looking at 2-1, would you?
80 seconds into the game, it's 1-1 to no score to Westminster Rangers, and you're saying, well, sure, look, the 7-1, you can see no way they're 7-1, if I look at it that way. But like you're on about one is tipping Bagenstown, another back in Bagenstown. Well, the three of us, I'd say we'll be this house here, probably the only one with a Bagenstown Gales flag hanging over in the next 24 hours.
It won't be up there long. Look, in fairness, whatever, but it was, they were mad odds in fairness, right? But yeah, if you look down through it, you're spot on actually, and it was a fair point. After 2 minutes, 1-1 to no score. Like, I don't know what the exact second count was on the first point, but Eddie Burns' goal. But yeah, 1-1 to no score after 2 minutes, and then in fairness, Bagenstown did respond and get the next two scores, and it did steady the ship, and that was very important. Like, lads, there was so much that happening in this. I don't even know where to start with it. It was just, firstly, can I say before we go into any nitty gritty, it was one of the best games of senior hurling I've seen in Carlow for a long, long time. I thought the standard of it was exceptional. The pace, the bite, the aggression, the physicality. I thought it had everything. I thought it was really, really enjoyable. And I came away, look, Joe, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to throw a dig in or anything, but I came away from those two games yesterday thinking that was absolutely brilliant, and really proud to be a supporter of Carlow hurling as a neutral there. I just thought they were really enjoyable games. It did our standard justice. And during the group stages, I was a little bit concerned. I was like, I think maybe it just proves that when it mattered again, I don't want to be harping on about it, but probably brings out the best in lads too, and it probably isn't a fair reflection when you see the group games. That was savage yesterday. From is it fair to say both, Bagenstown hurled really, really well. Rangers, only lost by 3 points. Did they hurl to their best? Is this a good place to start?
Well, you're looking at Rangers team on paper.
Were they not late hurl?
Well, that's two. Like Ted Jason, John Nolan were coming back from injuries, and they scored 6 points between them. So they probably ticked that box. Donna Murphy hit 3 points, probably hit a couple of wides. First year on minor, Evan Keeley hits 7. Probably missed a couple of frees. You have a mix of lads, as you said earlier, but the lads you're dependent on every day in, day out. Like, Darren Byrne was probably cornered a bit by Mark McDonald. Didn't get as many clearances in as he normally does, but still going to lot of them. Whether they got enough out of them when they got up into the forwards. Like, you had Richard Kelly going off. Would they have a feeling of being a better fit going back full back? He played there the last couple of years. like just looking at the last county final that Munster Rangers played, Bagenstown in 2012, David Phelan was playing wing forward. I know he was playing wing forward that time. That was his regular position. He scored 2 goals in that county final. So, like you're looking at like Dean Grennan's puckouts again. I thought they were on the money. You know, the founder man, Paul Cody. You know, he was pulled at half time. Would have been on the team of the year. I'd say definitely before yesterday. I know, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be on it or off it at the moment, but you know, and it wasn't Alfie got more ball in the second half, nearly, I'd say, than the first. Well, Alfie's going to get on ball anyway, you know, and centre back.
Got a pint in
David
the second
English,
half, I think, didn't he?
David Bourne the same. You're going to get on ball anyway. But Paul Cody probably would have been more to turn
somewhere else.
Put them somewhere else because no, Richard got a lot of ball. I looked at the match after, they both of them have gone a lot of ball in all the early rounds of the games. But the thing about Bagenstown Gales, they're Jack McCullough probably has had better games. Still here, vital point when it was wanted. Jeppy Tracy as well. Jamie Clark, he got yellow card the first half, and you'd be thinking, okay, is he, you know, it'd be a bother here. But like Gary Lawler fouled him 3 times, got no yellow card. Probably twice, I'd say, fouled him. Possibly could have got a yellow card. Jamie stands up there and gets the point to pump 4 points up. And that was a crucial one. Give him some bit of breathing space that even if a goal goes in now, it's not, you still have a point to play with. Like Ivan Keeley got a point into me back to 3 points near the end. You know, I'd say going in, you were saying you didn't need what happened to happen 1-1 for Munster Rangers early on. But I'd say 20 minutes back, we're looking, going, right, okay, we've conceded 1-1. We're giving them a head start. We're back in it now. So we're kind of back. And I don't know where the breeze was any different. Did it make any difference? I don't know what it was like, Joe. Was there much of a breeze? It seemed like in the stand there was a bit of a breeze blowing into it. But that stand, because, you know, Jeppy Tracy's shot was from just well out, like, and Kevin McDonald got one in the first half as well. So that's might be worth a point or two. I don't think it was.
Mark did it again in the second half.
Eddie Bourne gets a goal in the first minute. You're saying, like, he's in the game now. Keane Doyle took 2 balls over his hand after, you know.
Yeah, Keane took a great ball on the edge of the square.
Yeah.
Jesus, was an unbelievable catch.
These are things like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, you know, you're saying Eddie Bourne's going to be, he's in the game, he's got a goal in the first minute, you know, but he didn't get into it much after, like, you know, he was.
I think that's credit to Keane Doyle. Like, Keane Doyle has been man marking lads for the last couple of years, and I don't know about the only thing I did get right about that match, and that right, I said he'd pick up Eddie Bourne. But I did know. I thought he marked him. He gave an exhibition on him after. I think he did really. I think he, you know, Eddie's a big game player too. We mentioned, and he kept him quiet, barring the goal.
They blended, didn't they blend the whole man marking and zonal pretty well? So Keane obviously went over to Eddie Bourne. Darren Nolan was out on the wing on John Nolan, and Sean Wall and Ted Joyce. Alfie stayed at 6. Jamie Whelan was back in one corner. Like they really did. Like that can often be a sword that you fall on, but you do have to identify key players and try to turn them out, as the fella said. You know,
Danny Doyle, like
3 points.
He was playing wing back or midfield most of the games, and yesterday he scored a point just before half time. He was best player in the field from that to the 45th, 6th minute. He scored 3 points. He dispossessed Feathers.
Yes, his dispossession was probably the most crucial play in the game. That led to the second goal.
And that led to Jamie Clark's goal. Like, he was a man. I've never seen him hurling as well.
And for a lad who had Apache, remember we were at one game and he was out mid of the field.
I think the one back against
St. Mullins, Paddy Boland. Yeah, but I mean, that game or the previous one? He was in midfield and he was at sea. There was nothing happening for him. He was out of the game. You know, he was kind of everywhere and nowhere, and he had an immense game yesterday. Caught a couple of great balls on the puck out as well. I think a key thing you have to give credit to here, apart from the game yesterday, I think how Bagenstown have managed their year and managed their panel has been excellent. You look at the last game against ourselves last week. You had Alfie, you have Jamie Clark, you have Craig Doyle, all rested. You know what I mean? Now, maybe out of necessity or whatever else with knocks and whatever else, but not risk. They're coming in fresh yesterday. I think they scored whatever 111 between them all. Had massive games. Jamie got 1-2. Styler got 8 or 9 points. I know from freeze and play. Alfie got a point as well. So I think Gavin Nolan, I think learned from last year, and his management team learned from last year to come out, out of the traps fairly early last year, and kind of then as I think they've managed their panel really well this year. They've developed a panel this year. I think that's shown over the championship. I did mention it about them last week in terms of how they used their panel last week, and and giving lads game time in big matches. So when they are needed, in like yesterday as well, the couple of subs that came in, Andrew Casey came in, did really well.
Yeah.
Richie Whelan came in, he got a point. You know what I mean? You're not going to turn over teams like Rangers or whoever else, especially coming in as the underdog, without having your 20 players, without having your panel developed. And I think great credit in terms of managing the situation and managing the game time and developing the panel has to go to Gavin, not only about, and the management team, not only about how they played yesterday, but you're leading up to that. Do you know what I mean? If you don't have players developed and ready to come in and step up to that, when it happens on the day, they're not able to do it. So I think great credit to them beforehand as well. You had a lot of big moments. I mean, look, we talked. It was a fantastic win. I thought both full back lines. There was scores. There was scores on both full back lines. Do you know what I mean? When we look at it, there was a lot of scores, and there was probably more scores left behind as well for both teams there yesterday. For Bagenstown Gales going in, that might be a little, maybe just get them thinking again in terms of how they set up for the final.
Yeah.
I think they might play hard. It might be a case of horses for courses again the next day, in terms of who they pick up and their man marking and maybe their personnel as well. I think as the year has gone on, you mentioned a couple of lads there. I think Young Wall has been a fine addition to that team this year.
Yeah.
I think he has really, really grown in confidence. I was wondering in one game there at the start of the year, he looked like a lad a little bit short in confidence. Could have been the first Rangers game of the year.
Didn't help with lads roaring at him now either, Joe.
I don't think so. No,
And there was lads roaring at him at that.
Yeah,
and perspective, when we got to the county final in '94, and myself and Ned Cain were joint captains with Parnells, and that's Ned Cain's grandson now was playing next Sunday in the county final. We're at that stage of our lives.
Yeah, and I think he has been a phenomenal find. He really looked like he's very confident there yesterday. He got on a lot of ball. Excellent.
Coming down the home stretch, George, when you needed someone to come out with a few balls, he came out with a good few. Fairstone for a tap,
No, he did, and there was a couple of key moments. Look, let's be honest with you. You need a rub of the green as well to get over the line, and hard work. Like Jamie would say, he probably didn't strike the one for the goal as cleanly as he ever struck a goal. For the second goal, I think when they look back on it, Dean Grennan won't be overly happy with how he took that ball, but the ball is in the net, and that's the most important thing. And I think going back to it there, you mentioned Darren Nolan as well. I think it was done unbelievable. That's why you're in county finals, lads, like you said about lads switching on, someone dropping back onto the line.
We looked at that after actually the ball. Darren Byrne fed the ball to Donna Murphy, and he caught it actually. It was in his it was in his right hand when he hit it. So you might say, okay, he didn't hit 100%, but Jersey hit 95%, and it was a fair save over that. It's not wearing number 1 jersey, and things like that. You're going looking, okay, this could be our day now. Because another day that goes in.
I've been down for a hook as well. 21 minutes into the second half. He got an important hook in when Rangers are bearing down on goal. I think it would have been Ted Joyce, maybe. The correction on that one.
Over the far side, it was at Evan Keeley.
He's coming in on the terrace side. Yeah.
Did the ball go wide?
Yeah.
Evan Keeley, I think it was.
Yeah.
Very same as Styler in the first half. The hook up back on Styler.
He should have given that ball though. Styler should have given that ball that time.
Coming in.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There was chances there. There was more chances on both sides that weren't converted. If you know what I mean. There was some poor. Well, there was some great scores got. There was some both good defending and poor choices there. Taking at times. But yeah, I suppose it goes to show as well. I suppose one of the big you're talking about fine margins and all, and I think you look back and maybe you see the influence then maybe that the likes of say Michael Doyle has in that Rangers team over the last few years as well. Big loss there yesterday for them. I know he's gone all year, but like you're trying to
That's
shuffle
a leader.
them. Oh my God, the man
Looking
Mark.
at Bagnallstown then a couple of weeks ago, like to put Mark McDonald centre forward, coming against Sam Mullins the first day.
Yeah.
And a bit like Danny Doyle, things might have been going great midfield. He was getting on all right, but he's more of a focus now, and he's stopping the centre back, and he's going to
standing down on top of him and going toe to toe.
Stand down and do the next day on Walsh or Jericho, whatever it is. And
I think that's a bit. You're after hitting a very important point there, and I think Mark maybe has grown into that role. He probably realised that now Bagnallstown have lads. Score. And once they're scoring forwards, he clips over a point. I think he got a point yesterday as well.
Two, I think. Yeah.
Two, did he? He got two, yeah. But he knows his primary job now is probably to, disrupt and stop a half back line from.
It's like an all-style centre forward, I'd call it. That the Brendan Inskeet type job. The ball stays in around that area.
PJ O'Connell kind of a lad, yeah.
Yeah.
Paddy McDonald, yes, I probably got no score. Yes, got hooked a couple of times. He took a shot from the far side over. Now Styler took one the same in the first half of the terrace side there. These are things to be. They'll have to
give the ball for the goal, didn't he? For Jake Doyle's goal.
He did great, because he drew the man and gave it to Jake. Perfect passing, so just the score sheet.
Caught another high one when it came in over the top as well. That's one thing I was
going to hit on. Free for that as well.
If you look at it from this point of view, right, and I might have said this to you at half time, Joe, I can't remember, but they went in 2 points down, and the actual quality of the ball going to the forwards wasn't ideal. Like they were just being direct and lumping in high ball. And there's two things on that. Firstly, we mentioned it last week. I think they identified in that group game where there was areas to be got at, and they put pace inside. Paddy Mack, Styler still has a burst, and Jamie Clark has a burst. They identified that, right, number one. But number two, as a learning for the next day, if they get the ball in, as you say, head height or under into them, unless there's someone standing in front, there's scores to be got there.
Yeah, and just going back on that as well. Like, I think JP Tracy has been. I know he's only hurled in the latter stages of games, because he was out with an injury or whatever, concussion, for the first couple of games. He is a massive addition there, and massive in terms of physicality. And apart from his hurling, he picked off. I think he got a point yesterday as well. His physicality out there and around that middle is needed. You know what I mean? I mean, I suppose that'd be one thing that the last couple of years, like Bagnallstown always had plenty of hurlers, and but then having him out there, he's a massive man. Gets through a mountain of work, takes the hits. He's a ball winner. When he goes up, pushed up and puck outs, or even on opposition puck outs. He's a
probably just target there for about 4 or 5 puck outs the second half.
Big addition. Gives you
good
a great
hand,
platform.
Good strike, good touch.
But like sometimes when things, you need an out ball, and you just have to say, like, when the game is tight and whatever, and you just say, right, well, where do I put this down? Down on top of, and he's your go-to guy, and I think he's been a big addition there in the last couple of games for them. Apart from his hurling, obviously he's lots of hurling. He clipped over a score or two, whatever in the game, but he's just his physicality and his work rate there, and Brett and Beanie Dial back as well, and you just cannot, like, Bagnallstown just have got their panel right. They managed their panel right this year. They're focused this year, about. Like I said, I was just so impressed with them last week. I said it off record. I said it. I think I could have said it on record. I'm very impressed with them how they hurled last week against us, minus 3 or 4 starters or possible starters, and I think, like I said, great credit to Gavin Nolan. Things are looking right. I think they learned a lot from last year, how to manage things. Little things like I want to pick up on as well that can make a difference. We heard them in the under-20 this year. You had a couple of their senior players who were involved in the under-20 management. You also Gavin Nolan involved in the under-20 management. He was out there. That continuity with players, especially now with the overlap with under-20s and seniors. The idea of all in it together club, you know what I mean? Pathway for players, etc. Little things like that make a difference, about bringing lads together and gelling and building a spirit. and I think they've managed that really well as well. Do you know what I mean? And it can be little things like that you're doing off the pitch, and and little things to build that collegiality, or that kind of togetherness. That when things are in the mental melting pot, it can make a massive difference. And I think they've got a lot of stuff right like that, in the background as well. And that's a learning process. And I think they've definitely improved and stuff like that.
It would be fair to call it the mental pot as well, all joking aside, because coming down the home stretch, you need it between the 2 ears, like.
Oh
Do you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
melting pot and mental pot, absolutely. Yeah, the score from Alfie, as you mentioned, 6 minutes into the second half,
Great.
inspirational.
Yeah.
From the Rangers' point of view, because I know we talked a lot about Bagnestown, right? But for me, there was a lad called D Murphy, who we were used to seeing for years upon years, a special talent. Obviously, he's not there this year, but I still think this year I've seen glimpses of another special D Murphy. That's done it. I've him down for, I think, is it 3 points from play, Stevie? Just to confirm, he's
Yeah,
definitely got 2 anyway.
got
And
three.
all 3 of them were tasty points. One in particular, underneath the terrace into the scoreboard, and wicked. Like, that's probably that's the biggest game he's played for Rangers at senior level up to that point. And you mentioned Evan Keeley on the freeze and that. We're going to be talking about this chap for a long, long time, lads.
Yeah.
He's a serious talent, and
I
you have
think
to
that.
give great credit to the younger lads. They have shown a bit of leadership this year. Evan
Yeah.
Keeley, the pressure on the freeze in the semi final. Take nothing away from them. Like, I don't want to sound condescending or anything, but they have been really, really good champions. And despite the fact that they weren't at their best in the group stages, they still got through and won 5 out of 5, didn't they? So
Yeah.
They probably have a little bit of maybe remodeling or blending. I mean, we talked about other teams missing players and injuries and panels and all, and Rangers are kind of going through a kind of a change there too. There's a couple of younger lads coming in, and there's a change in the guard a little bit. But their younger players were excellent. And Ted Joyce, I thought, was having a good year. I know he missed a couple of games there with injury, but geez, he started like a train, and he finished. He got a couple of points yesterday.
Actually, yesterday,
himself
the
and
score
John.
he got. Sorry,
Go on,
Joe. The score he got there was 113 apiece, I think, and he got through very same as Jack Dale will say for his goal. And went about an inch short of the crossbar. That went in.
Different game.
Could be different game. 3 points up.
I thought you could see you could probably see himself and John were still carrying the after effects of their knocks, if you get me. Near the end of the game, you know what I mean. I remember one ball Ted got, and I'd say had he been fully right and not had the knock he picked up during the year, in the second half he would have gone by his player. He allowed the Bagnestown lad to stand, or the Bagnestown lad stood him up. I can't remember who it was at the time. Stood him up rather than taking him on and going trying to go by him. And I think he pulled his shot. You know what I mean? And you're probably seeing that, like I said, there was a couple of lads on the team there carrying John as well, even though like John and him were excellent as well. But they were carrying. You could see the effects of their knocks. But look, like you look at it like that, like we said, like Darren Owen not on the line. Maybe Jamie Clark's shot not going in. It's a different ball game. They are great champions, you know what I mean, and they have been consistently a top team in Carlow, and they've driven standards as well. And look, they'll take it as a knock, but sure, they have the players coming through. They have the talent coming through there to build. I think it was not to put it too, but I think it was a seismic moment enough in terms of Carlow hurling. We talked about it, and you talked about it as well, Kevin, in terms of Bagnestown, and play other lads did about Bagnestown underage getting to a level, and maybe that's where the level was in terms of that, having that success and then being able to bring it further up. And I think it could be if Bagnestown can take that for what it is and build on it, it could be a seismic moment in terms of hurling in the county. And maybe it could be a little bit of a change in the guard. We saw, we're seeing glimpses of in different teams, and but I suppose, look, we'll probably be focusing on Sunday first and see where that goes for them anyway.
Yeah, and I was actually plotting and planning to see how we're going to work this this week because obviously with my commitments this year to Tlesh, of course we'd have to be playing next round of the championship at 3 o'clock next Sunday, wouldn't we? So we'll have to work out our content plan very, very stringently. But we will have interviews coming up during the week with Tom Doyle, the St. One selector from yesterday, and we spoke to Jamie Whelan from yesterday there as well. That'll be going out during the week. We've interviews with Jack Kavanagh and Gavin Nolan up on our socials there as well. So we'll keep you posted on what's happening during the week for sure. I do remember, I'm nearly certain it was Ballinkill or Bangerstown won in Dromedia in 2019, I think, was it? I think it was only 3 years ago. And I remember in the infancy stages of this podcast when we were doing championship things 2 years ago, despite the fact that they lost a long number of games, and I must dig it out. I said if they could just hold on to your Alfies, your Beanies, and your Stylers for just a couple of years until these lads get the couple, you might have that window of a year or two. And I still think, obviously they're in a final now, right? But I still think the window might be a couple of years still, because you need those lads at the top end. And when they go, then all of a sudden there's a massive gap between where we'll say Jack McCullough is and all that now. So you have to strike when they're in it's hot. This is as good a chance as they have. I'm not saying those lads aren't capable of leading it and what do you call it, and winning several senior championships, but Jesus, this is a very important time for them to make it count, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Styler won a minor in 2004, and he could have had another year minor, I think, at that stage. And historically, Bagnallstown would have always had good underage teams back in the Aaron's own times, like say under 12, 14, 16s, like Carlatown that time as well, and going back 20, 30 years ago, to be hovering up what titles to be going. Then, obviously, Michel will be getting their freedom as well. We'd get an odd one. But like the two town teams that time were getting them, and a Bagnallstown team hasn't won a county final since 1970. They got that was actually a walkover of St. Ones with some bit of a dispute. I can't remember exactly, but that's how long ago. It's 52 years ago. They're only in the final now against St. Ones again, and there's probably links to both teams. I think Styler's grandfather could have been on that now. I'm not 100% sure. Mitchell's John Foley and Michel could have been on that as well. These fours are all up in Dr. Cullen Park now. So it's probably a thing. If you're ever in there, you go around looking at them and you see who they're up in the boardroom and see who's you see a random some lad that at matches, and you might not know and he hurled that much at all. And like Tommy Murphy was standing there yesterday, actually, Styler's grandfather was actually a Savage hurler. I know he's from Gorge Bridge originally, and I had heard he was a very good hurler. There's tradition brings you so much. But as you say, they're in the final now next week. There'll be only, what could there be, 3, 4 Bagnallstown lads I say I've played them on before. Mark O'Donoghue was a sub in 2012. Alfie and Styler probably the only other two. St. Mullins probably all their team will have played in it, I'd say, within reason. That doesn't say, county finals are, Brian Cody said, take a life of their own. And, could be an Andrew Kane coming off the bench there, Oisin Ryan, something like that.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench, get a pointer a goal in the last minute and wins it, and he's a hero forevermore. So it'll be like if Ballinkillen had got to it now, I'd say it would have been, and we're looking at, you're trying to see teams on the open, a change of the guard or a change of scenery too. Like in the football, you're looking at aerograph Philly there thereabouts every year. Someone else comes into the mix and it's great. If Bagnallstown Girls had got a Ballinkillen final next week, I don't know. Like how would I'd say the atmosphere, like what relations you'd have in it. This is the thing we kind of forget with Mount Leinster Rangers, St. Mullins. There's so many entwined there with the Cavanaghs and Codys and Hickeys and the whole that, and historically, and like the coach sods of one another, and like they're back out pals again after it eventually, and it's these things, the rivalries in these games, like just county finals. I remember we lost to Michel in '94, and I couldn't look at Michel lad for a good while after, and there wasn't a word said. They weren't rubbing in their faces, not one bit. But you get to county final, that's one thing. Winning it then is just however you get over the bloody final, because I lent 2 scuttery goals in '96 and we still won, and they were forgotten about then, but I didn't forget them, but I wouldn't have forgotten them too handy for the lost. Things like that. These are days like are going to be. I presume the band will be back next week. I hope it is, because the county final day, it's just this. No matter what county you're in, it's just a day. If you can get to play in it and win, brilliant. you know. And our under 20s were playing the final before against Carltown, the under 20B final, so that'll be a repeat of last year's final. So it'd be great for them two teams as well, like to get out there, see what's like in county final day. Like years ago, we got to a minor final against Carltown, pulled off a major shock, but like Carltown that time, Niall English was probably the best hurler I'd say I've ever played against in Carlow. He was only 14. He was playing in a minor final. You know, there's county final day just takes a total. It goes in a whiz. It'll be gone in a shot. Anyone's playing that match next Sunday, especially the Bangson Gales, they need to grasp it by the 2 years because it'll be gone in. The game goes so quick. It's not like any other game you're going to play. It'll be gone. It'll be half time before you know where you are. And if you're 4 or 5 points down, the fucking game's over. It's just there's no comparison to it. I'd say there's going to be a big Bangson crowd out next week. You know, the get out. Someone's always having over there in the terrace now. Just to be,
there won't be room at all in the terrace, lads.
Always be room inside the press box.
Pat Cody was back in concert. I heard yesterday they're on the saying anyway, shouting every ball and contesting every ball. And like, you know, Mick Lidis was over the far side in front of us now, and you know, Scott's John Coleman's at the other side, and the two were winding one another up, and like they were, you know, that's what it's all about too. That you know, someone wins, someone loses, and that's what will happen next Sunday as well.
Well, I suppose on that, like I hope it was brilliant to see the outpouring of emotion yesterday after Bagenalstown win. You know what I mean? It was great in terms of just a lift or whatever else and the change, and even like you said, Stevie, there's rivalries and everything else, but it was great to see it. You know, because we need it. You know, sometimes we need that little break or that, you know, that little surprise or whatever else. It just kind of gives something extra. And I suppose I do hope that the players are given a bit of space to, you know, to once they prepare for the week. But I hope they're, you know, I hope they're, and I think that there will be. I think Gavin Nolan and the lads, the management team, will be able to manage that whole kind of expectation and manage the week ahead for them, and that it doesn't, you know, that I spoke to 2 lads last night. I won't mention their names outside the little shop. They were one lad was walking a dog and had his child with him, and as I said, the other lad we were walking and chatting, and 2 cameramen. You wouldn't think they were after playing in a county semi final that day. This is whatever after tea, and they were out just having a chat and a walk, and there was no giddiness or whatever else. And I think that was great to see. That gave me a great. I was kind of wondering. I was actually wondering in the car. I was going up to the in-laws, and I was on the way home, thinking, geez, well, I text a few of the Bagenalstown lads, and I text even some of the St. lads. I to congratulate them on their wins, and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what way will they handle? You know, will the hype kind of get to them, or not the hype, but you know, will it just kind of, will they leave it at that? Like, you know, will that be their kind of county final? And what I saw with the 2 lads yesterday, it was reassuring because, you know, they were very calm about it, very measured, very whatever else, job done. You know, we move on to the next day, and I think that's a great thing to see. You know, in the aftermath of a big win, that their focus is there. You know, and their mindset is different than, you know, that was kind of it. We leave it there, like, you know. So, I think it's going to be a big game. It's going to be a big game. I don't know whether we're going to preview it now or you're going to preview it separately or what you want.
We can do it twice if you want. So let's talk a little bit about it. Fake it, we're live. You might as well. The one thing I was going to say there, and it's a very important point you've made. Like, you have to really take it in and enjoy it. And I always go back to this. Funnily enough, I'll say it straight out. I used this mantra on my own wedding day with Pat Cody in the county final when he came back in 2010, and he just took everything in, enjoyed it for what it was. Like, you know, that's what I did on my wedding day. Looked around, you know, because you're nervous on your wedding day, obviously. That's what Stevie, county final.
That's what Stevie did too.
Yeah.
It's important
to take it in. But anyway, enough of that waffle. What I was going to say was, I think both of these sides will actually turn up and perform. I'll tell you why exactly. St. Mullins, if you look at them, they played in Leinster finals, they played in umpteen county finals. Bagenalstown, well, they haven't played in the senior finals, they played in 20s finals, they played in minor finals. And you know what? From the time they were very, very young, lads, don't underestimate this, they played in community games finals, which are big things even for a kid. You're playing in an All-Ireland final. So you're already getting used to big games, even though it is underage level. They've maybe played in Kennedy Cup finals. Maybe they might have played with Wexford Youths and stuff. Might be different sports, but they're big occasions, and the psychology of it is the very same, no matter what. So I think you're going to get two teams that will turn up and perform well. So yeah, it's going to be great. So looking at matchups, then let's go into it, sir. If you have the time, Lester, why not, right? I come up with a bit of a left wing thing last night in the group with G, where I thought, in terms of James Doyle, right? James Doyle was a little bit quieter by his standards yesterday, I felt. And maybe that's due to the fact that obviously he had his honeymoon, his wedding, and a few pints on board, you know yourself. I think you'll see a different James Doyle next Sunday. And based on that, this kind of left wing idea came to mind. Like, you're thinking about, Keano as well capable of marking this guy, big strong lad or whatever. Well, I think Danny Doyle is actually tailor made for him. I think he's you take out the half hour line though on the ball winning ability, and the 3 points of yesterday are sacrificing a lot. But he'll go up and he'll compete with him. He'll have pace. He'll have strength. I think that's a very good matchup. Now, I think Keane is going to end up on him, isn't he? Still, Joe, you reckon?
I think so. Yeah, he's man marked. He's man marked them all at this stage. He's man marked the last 2 years.
Mouse,
Chris, Eddie. He's done the whole lot of them. Won't shake him. I tell you, he's very unflappable in terms of his personality. He's, apart from his hurling, even like yesterday, there, Eddie turned him for that first ball, left him on his arse more or less. Kind of turned him, and that didn't stop him. I mean, he's a great. His psychology, his head is just fantastic. And he's so sticky. Oh God, he's so sticky. I can't see them moving Danny Doyle onto him. I think they've got Danny in a good place up in that half forward line, and they'll try to put maybe St. Mullins on the back foot a bit. I can't see it. I can see Keane going there. I think Sean or Young Wall picked up Conor Keogh the last day, didn't he? I think in the group game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Is Paddy Keogh around? What's the story there? Or
heard a vicious rumour he's back in the country today.
Yeah. We were wondering, all right, like what about his availability for yesterday? But that's another thing in their arsenal. But it probably wouldn't at this stage. You probably wouldn't start.
Yeah, that can change where James Doyle is playing too. If Paddy's back and starting, and would put James Doyle in full forward, start him off.
But then there's Keane. Keane is a natural match in there then too. You know what I mean? I think we're on about versatility of players. Like, I think they'll leave, and I said it before the semi-final, I think Alfie will always be at 6. And I think probably any of your other 5 defenders can nearly take up any position, if you know what I mean. Like Darren Nolan was said, hurl out in the wing. He hurled kind of everywhere yesterday. Keane can go in at full back, depending who's in there. Young Wall has the pace for Conor Keogh, or has, will be earmarked there as well.
Where does Paddy Boland play? Paddy Boland had 7 points and play wing forward last day against Bagnallstown Gales. He started full forward yesterday.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I'm saying. Maybe Darren, I can't see them. I'd
have Darren Nolan and John Doyle. I think is a good match.
John Doyle, yeah, physically, there's a good. Like, in fairness, John's good. John's a good ball winner as well, and Dara.
I think if you're looking at it here, like, let's spell it out now and see, do we agree on it as if we'll do the same for St. Mullins on the other end, right? If we're over Bagnallstown and you're looking at matchups here, so just say if it's Jamie Whelan or Andrew Casey, either or, that's probably a Philip Connors, I'd say, straight up, is it? Or is it a Jason O'Neill? That's
for like, yeah.
Casey will stand near the goal. I'd say if he's starting, I guess we're picking up.
So probably Philip Connors. John Doyle, I'd be saying Darren Nolan over there.
Yeah.
Paddy Boland, I'd be saying Keane Doyle for him, and I'd be saying Danny Doyle for James Doyle, and a Young Wall over on Conor Keogh. Jason O'Neill then, like, Jesus Christ, he's not too shabby either. Like, I'm leaving out a defender. I can't think of who I'm leaving out of the 6 there. Beanie, yeah. Well, like, if he's on the wing, Alfie. Who's Alfie? Is Alfie just holding the centre? Like, who knows? Like, what happens actually if the lads do go man to man and put one of those, say, into the centre? Are Bagnallstown going to keep Alfie in the centre, or is he just going to pick up him? Like,
I think Alfie stays in the centre. I don't think he moves. I think it's like David English for us or whoever.
Yeah.
I think because
they'll fancy him to, of all those forwards you named out for various reasons. They'll fancy Alfie all day long anyway, regardless.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean,
Yeah.
you're putting them onto probably the best man marker or one of the
Yeah.
best man markers we've ever produced in the county for the last dozen years. So I think
Mm.
if whoever it is and he's passed on to Alfie, you won't be worried.
St. Mullins then, if you're to go back the other side, right? And I know we've left out midfield there, but are they going to deviate from, their usual six backs? They very rarely do.
I don't think they will. I don't think they'll man mark. I think
Yeah.
I think some of the fits will, like, I think Craig, you have Paul Dyle will probably pick up Craig Dyle inside, because Paul will stay in as kind of one of the two anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And I think he'll pick up Craig Dyle. I think that's a natural fit there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing with those two is, I think Paul capable of marking Craig Doyle, and I think he's capable of marking Jamie Clark, right? But John Doran doesn't have Paul's pace, I think.
No, but I think Jamie Clark could probably cause Paul a little bit more bother.
He did last year, didn't he? From memory.
I think, I think Craig will be his matchup there.
Yeah.
St. Mullins tend to, like, even yesterday, they kind of tend to hold their formation, if you know what I mean. They don't tend to man mark. They're kind of steady in their positions, if you get me. So,
yeah. Now John's a wily old fox, like, and it doesn't matter what sort of pace the lad has. If you're stuck to him, and play on the edge. I'm not saying
it depends who they play. Depends. See, a lot of teams now are playing only two inside anyway. You know what I mean? So you're not really playing a three you're not really looking at two cornerbacks, if you get me, and a fullback. Do you know what I mean? One
slightly in front, maybe, and
one is kind of one. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes
it's near enough line though. Yesterday, wasn't it? It wasn't too dissimilar to standard.
No. But I'm saying sometimes it can happen that one of your corner forwards is coming out in front. So that kind of can change the dynamic of things. But I can't see St. Mullins changing the whole pile. I can't see them.
Paul Connolly, Paddy Mack, yeah. Then out on the wing, I suppose, Michael Walsh at 6 on top. I think that's a right battle, actually. Them two boys,
and Mark McDonald. That'll
be timber.
Honest effort required from ball. Yeah. No, but there's no man to give it.
Cody, Jake Doyle. Then I suppose Danny probably still will play wing forward. I'm just kind of putting it out there as a possibility that he would be, a shout to go back on Mark James. But if he is, then that kind of sorts out the six there, really, doesn't it? Will they line out like that? Who knows? Who knows? What
you might have the two Jacks bowling at each other in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Jack McCullough and Jack Kavanagh, two energetic players. Will they go hammer and tongs at in the middle, or will JP Tracy, pick up Jack in terms of physicality? The only thing is the other Jack has more legs. You know what I mean? Jack McCullough maybe.
Yeah.
I think in fairness, Oisin Boland was out there as well yesterday. He's probably a lad we didn't talk a lot about. He can be quietly effective.
Yeah, he sat in. I remember St. Mullins did this in the final last year. They sat him in as a free man out of. I suppose Paddy was on the field. I think Mick Welsh was on the field. And there's one thing I picked out at the time, and it wasn't even a disrespectful thing to him. It's just in terms of like who could do that job to the max. I wouldn't have had him in my top 3, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I wonder, could you see them doing something like that Sunday? Will they pull that out of the bag and drop someone back again?
Like if Paddy Keogh is back, or they're going to chance leaving him on the line for 20 minutes, and there's someone on the field looking at the line for missing a couple of balls, and knows Paddy's going to be taking their spot fairly quick. It's
the only thing is if he's only back, like,
that's he didn't play last week, did he?
No.
Against that's
I don't think he'll start.
I can't see him. No, I don't think he'd have the hurling. Do you know what I mean? As in, I think fairly fair. I think that's, like we said, about final mentality. I think St. Mullins I think all their players will be tuned in enough to know if Paddy is there, that he probably will be coming in at some stage. But exactly. That my job is to empty my tank, and whatever I can give, I give. I think we mentioned it before, that's their mindset is fantastic down there in terms of what they give in terms of as players. Like, there's no, everything is team. So I couldn't see it as an issue in terms of a lad looking over. If it's not going for him, it's not going for him. I think they'll go on with it fairly rapid down there, But it'll be the impact off the bench will be important as well. You mentioned the couple of players coming in. Is that something maybe that Bagenalstown have a little bit more? Maybe
I would think so.
A little bit more in terms of options. You have more. If they kind of go with that same starting 15 more or less, or
Yeah.
And then you have, like you said, Andrew Cates come in yesterday. You had Richie Whelan come in yesterday.
Andrew Kane, probably their best player nearly last year.
Yeah, you have
pound for pound.
Yeah, a couple more. You've Niall Bulger in the backs. You've
that's good depth. And we've said this before about St. Mullins when they've won championships. Isn't it mad that like they had the capability of doing it with bringing in a couple of subs maybe, and after that we were kind of saying, do they have a whole lot more? And that sounds like a terrible thing to be saying, terrible harsh thing to be saying. But you would think that Bagenalstown might have a little bit more depth. Yeah,
But it's about it's about getting the most out of whatever you have, no matter whether it's like, I suppose,
and no better team than St. Mullins to do it.
Yeah, but you can be caught. That's the only thing. If a lad gets injured, a lad has an off day. If you are like, your 15 can be incredible, but then it's what happens when a lad gets injured this week, or something happens in the warm up, or lads having a bad game.
Freedom Pack Hardy got hurt in the warm up a couple of years ago. No, it's just a freak accident. I mean, like, some can, these things can happen. He got a broken finger and he only a selector.
Gavin Nolan got a cut eye yesterday as well.
He did, and never said a word about it. I seen the blood in on their podcasting, and I didn't. So I have to look back at the match. I knew something had happened to her. He got a slip sometime, but I didn't actually know it was.
He didn't make a whole lot of it, in fairness. He
never made. No, he didn't. In fairness to him, and
in fairness, he's a calm chap. He's a very, I didn't have any dealings with him just about on him there. I didn't have any much dealings with him. Actually, the last time I ever met him was on a pitch down in Clock in about, I can't remember what year it was, and he was hurling for Castlecomer, and they'd beaten us in the school's Leinster quarter final. Went on to win the All Ireland Colleges final the same year. That was the last time I was talking to him till up an under-20 match in Ballinkillen there a few weeks ago, and I'd say we spoke we were the last two people in the pitch in Ballinkillen. We were just speaking and chatting about hurling. He's a very decent man, very interested, committed man, in fairness to him. But yeah, he made nothing of it, in fairness.
Like, the thing about last year, Joe, a little bit of luck in the semi-final. Banging some guys could have been in the final last year. Let the final go where it went.
Yeah.
Like, most got a penalty. I'm not saying everyone would have got the penalty. And Craig Diles won the first half. I think it over the line.
Yeah.
There was 4 points in it. There were a good 4 points winning the wind up St. Mullins, but
yeah,
I don't know whether. Look, most obviously not playing, and they're not going to be going back to that game as such. But it was a knockout game. The game they played in the league part of this part was a league part of the game. And I said earlier, the county final is going to be different, totally different. It's knockout, best horse jumps the fence, and it's John Dorn. Like, you're looking at him. John Dorn in county finals has been immense in any game. He's 100% committed. You say Kevin Pleasant the age, and it's like these lads, Andrew Kestefar and Jack Kavanagh, Patch Murphy's referee, and hopefully lets it go. Within reason, lets it go, and it's going to be. It's not going to be a show for free takers. We don't think it will be. That
Speaking of that, it was probably that's a good point. Sorry, Steve Colgrosha. That's a big point. I thought yesterday St. Mullins were a little bit hit and miss under freeze, or can be at times. You know what I mean? They're missing mouse from that point of view. James Dyle and Connor. I know the close-in ones were fine, but some of those kind of clutch frees, or that 9 out of 10 free taker, was maybe just missing a little bit from St. Mullins yesterday, I thought.
Do you start Paddy for frees? Do you carry him for frees?
No, I don't. I think they'll.
No, you're saying he missed the last couple of games. I didn't see the team last week, but you're back to James Dyle. How much practice will you have on frees? James had missed a match. Look, he'll be a lot sharper next week, I'd say.
Yeah. But it was just yesterday. They are missing that, mouse, that 9 out of 10, that 9. Never mind 9 out of 10, that 99 out of 100 sort of free taker at the minute. I thought Craig struck him fairly well yesterday. they've Jake as well as a backup too. It's an important part of the modern game, isn't it? The free taker in hurling, like you're looking at a sizable cachet of scores generally come from it.
And that's probably the only real counter argument. I know we always come to spread of scorers, but it's the only counter argument that can go against that. Like many times we've seen Dennis Murphy contribute everything bar 2 scores for Rangers and they win a game. It's probably the one thing that can go against that as a counter if there is fouls being drawn and they're popped over. Like I suppose even go back to yesterday, if Ballinkillen won the game by a point, we wouldn't be giving out about the fact there's 4 scores because Kieran Whelan would be after contributing nearly everything. So I think it'll be left low. In fairness, Patrick is around a long time, and he'll know the crack. He'll let the boys at it. If it was refed in the same fashion as John Hickey last year, we'll be in for some treat. That was he might have just got the whistle and fucked it out over the hedge. Like it was great. It was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed last year the way he refed it, and it was fairly clear that was the way it was going to go for the whole game, and there was no exception to it. So I think always when it's like that, when the stall is set out. When lads start getting infuriated is when it goes against that once or twice and it's not consistent. Not drive it on. Don't even bother bringing the whistle, Patrick. Just let him at it. timber, boy. So I suppose we better chat about the other games, lads. The junior final the other night. Joe, you were in at it. St. Mullins winning by 5 points against Burn Rangers. And disappointing not to see Burn Rangers going up. Take nothing away from St. Mullins. Maybe we can still get them up to intermediate, but they probably don't want to go up unless they win junior. I'd say knowing them, they'll want to do it that way, But a word on that there.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. First half was very even game. First, there was a couple of good goals in the first half. Well, I suppose Burn Rangers got a kind of a fortunate goal. Long ball went in, and Mark Ryan came out to claim it, and it broke in behind him, went all the way to the net, and I suppose that was countered. Then St. Mullins had a couple of goals. Paul Keogh got a great goal. Fergal Doyle as well. Got goals at key times. First half, the hurling was scrappy enough. Burn Rangers did well to come back and kind of, like I said, after a poor start, to get right back in the game. I should have said, sorry, St. Mullins got the first goal, and then Burn Rangers came back into it. I think it was a draw. It might have been a point in at half time. I thought the younger legs, maybe of Burn Rangers, might get them across the line, but I think as the match went on, it was actually St. Mullins hurling got them across the line. I thought a couple of key men. I thought Declan Murphy was brilliant for St. Mullins. Fergal Doyle ended up with 2 goals. Got a second goal in the second half. Probably a key score, really. The game in the melting pot. It came, by the way. We're talking about goalies and saves. Kieran Caffrey, who's the Burn Rangers goalie, pulled off. I mean, I don't know when I saw 2 saves as good as them in the match. One in the first half and one in the second half. So unlucky for one in the second half. I mean, now he deflected the ball up and onto the crossbar, like with a long hurl. Unbelievable save, and Fergal Doyle came in, got the rebound, and buried it to net. That was probably the key score. Burn Rangers never looked like getting that goal that they needed to get back into the game. To be honest with you, they had a couple, like some of their younger players, like they hurled well. Like Dylan Townsend had a few nice scores. Oisin Doyle was good. Jim Nolan was solid in the full back line. Joe Holland, like lads like this, but Conor Bulger as well in midfield was good. But they probably just lacked that little bit of hurling, that little bit of craft like that St. Mullins had. You had a lot of experience in that St. Mullins team. We mentioned there, like, Paul Kehoe, you had Alex Doyle at centre forward. Declan Murphy was excellent. Tom Cody fullback. Like lads like this, that little bit of experience probably got them across the line, and they were probably worthy winners in the end. I'd say Burn Rangers would probably be disappointed with how they played. Low enough scoring to put up a few nice scores during the year. But the St. Mullins backline were very tight, very disciplined, and probably the best team won out on the night, in fairness.
Intermediate semis. You were those, Joe?
I didn't know. I got reports on them as well, but I didn't.
Yeah. So we have a Rangers and Avon final again next Saturday. Yeah. I believe there were 2 very good games. I met Shea Hayes yesterday, and he was saying there They were crackers. I know you had said it as well. Standard was really good. But fixtures wise, yeah, that's Saturday. And what was the throw-in time again, lads? Do you know that?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah. And then Sunday, it's 2 and 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 o'clock, the under 20B final. Cartertown and Airbreed, and 4 o'clock, obviously. Senior Hurling final, Bangerstown Gales and St. Mullins. Any word on streaming, Stevie? Is she going out?
Don't know that. I don't know. I can't divulge that because I don't know. Tommy Murphy, in fairness, just Tommy, he has notes there, like he could rattle them off, like you were saying, or someone's in their 34th county final. Something like that. Like
Tommy's the man to go to.
Yeah, he had them all. Like he was on with Courtnell there, the team there back in the 50s and 60s. And the Courtnell is actually where Ger Lennon lives. Big Bird, Feathers, Sledge there across the road, literally. The Kavanaghs. Declan's back home in Australia there. He's back. He's I'll come back to Monday week. He's talking after the match there, down the road, like, a Scass, puck of a ball, literally, that could be playing with the other club. And Tommy rattles out these names and numbers, and he's he was going through what teams have played in county finals. Tullow played in county finals, 50s as well, like, and we're talking about hurling in the county. We're a small county. We're saying Tullow, Rathvilly, Hackettstown areas need hurling in them. There was hurling in them one time. Can there be hurling going to them again? Because the Burn Rangers project is probably, at the moment, their skill-wise hurlers are probably coming next year or the year after. The real elite lads, we'll call them. And I couldn't see him looking to go up without winning it. I don't know. Maybe that's whether that happened or not, but they're going to come. They have to have, they have to have the continuous, that stream into it. It's going to be a step up as well from into adult level. Because you see, as Donna Murphy yesterday coming up, like he's playing at St. Kieran's teams. He's 18. That's we're back to the first year old minor. Like, it's a big step up as well, physically wise. Now yesterday he got room, and good hurlers always make room as well. Like the under 20 final, it's good to see the under 20B final on next Sunday before as well, because last year, in fairness, the final was on a Wednesday night in Dr. Cullen as well, and it was a cracker. Like, we had a big lead and they got back and could have snuck it in the wind up. And we played them earlier this year. Now there was 2 rounds, a couple of them were walkover. So to beat us in Carltown by 3 or 4 points, and they were missing 2 or 3 strong forwards. We were missing 4 or 5 players over the field as well. So
it's great. It's great for both. Great for both clubs, Stevie, to play there, because let's be honest with you. How to put this, but like both clubs need it. You know what I mean, in terms of
Yes, today, as I said, and go back to where minor finals, minor A final, and then the senior finals on it. And I can remember I was 16 and played the minor final, and like Paddy Kirk, like, he presented us with medals. We were under 14s. 4 years later, we were playing senior against him. Like, lads like this. I remember talking to George Darcy coming out yesterday, and we're talking about the match anyway. And I said, I could have went the second one, went extra time. So the Graveyard Mass and Loughlin's on at 7 o'clock, would being hard pressed to get back for it. And Jersey nearly had me crying coming out, because he said there's a man buried out there, and I couldn't think for a second it was Pat Foley. Like, he said he would have soldiered a lot with him with county teams, and then he said just be always late, like, and Joe Summers would be going county matches or whatever, and to boys being farmers that have to have all the jobs done, and I being a teacher, so I'd be ready waiting for him. And then the opposite had happened. Then I'd be waiting to go home and correct homework or something. The boys be out drinking tea for the night. So, and he said he's one man out there. If you're out there tonight, say a prayer for him, and possibly a prayer for us for next Sunday. But so back to the under 20, like, county final day, atmosphere great being there. I hope that Jez is the band there. Just the All-Ireland final.
That's the second time you mentioned the band.
No, I said it, and I the Artane band today, they all earned above the atmosphere and that. Just the match itself, like, let the match go on. The match going to be an hour and 10 minutes, whatever it is. The atmosphere, that alone, like, you can hear the band warming up in the tennis club or wherever, if there's a band there. I don't know. Is a Collection Pipe band coming to that, Kevin, or are they going to follow Collection in the football?
I don't know, to be honest with you. The way you're talking, you'll want Fiesta at half time in the whole lot, like the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's been enough in the Super Bowl.
the
Yeah.
it's going to be a good day. I think on the streaming, by the way, I think it's a great idea. I won't. I thought it was a great idea. It's great to have it. And I know you were doing commentary now, Steve. I thought and it was excellent, as I know. I thought the price was a little bit steep yesterday for the two matches myself. I don't like. I know. It's getting the balance. I'm very pro, as you know, pro everything my county does, and the people in there do. I thought it was a little bit steep. I had a couple of lads who were going to look at it from Offaly. You know, there was a no hurling up there this weekend, and they were going to tune in. And you know, lads who genuine lads, I'd often look at a Galway game. You can stream them from everywhere now, and they saw the price and they said, no, you know, not going to pay, you know, for it. Like, you know, I think maybe that's something that needs to be revisited. Like, you can get I think you can get 20 games or something in Galway for €120, you know, in terms of value.
That weekend there.
Yeah, maybe it's something they might do for the football. Maybe do a football bundle, because I think it's getting the balance between promoting your game, and I know it has to be. Look, it has to be a revenue stream. You're not doing it to not, you know, to not make money as well. But I think getting the balance. I think you have to. Maybe getting that sweet spot maybe needs to be looked at. But it's a great idea. But maybe, and I know it's cost. I know there's a cost there. I'm not a pie in the sky man. I know I can't run at a loss, etc. But maybe
they're trying to get the lads, like, you know, there's going to be people from Bagnallstown away next week, you know, whether they're on holidays and whoever they are, or lads are, you know, Pablo Doyle, these boys that played at the town years ago, will probably be home for themselves from England. Ronnie Kelly, these lads, you know, there'll be, you know, there's always.
But it's getting. I think it's getting that sweet spot between people seeing people accessing it and getting value. Like you don't like. Even at that money, right? People might still pay for it, but they're paying for it and saying, "Well, affect this. This is, you know."
Can I put it to this way, lads? Right, this is a fair way of putting it. I'm going to call out the countries that we have listeners from on this podcast. Right, Ireland, Australia, US, United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, South Korea. That's mad. Spain, Germany, Portugal, Indonesia, Brazil, Italy, Bulgaria, Russia, Singapore, France, Slovakia, Sweden, Netherlands, Malta, Lebanon, Israel, Hong Kong, Greece, Czech Republic, and the UAE, right? And I know the encouragement is getting lads, but
that's where Stevie's been on holidays the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that must have been it. Yeah, that would make sense. But the point is, like, I know they're trying to encourage people to go to the games. You'd be a long time coming to it from Malta. You'd be a long time coming to it from Singapore. You'd be a long time coming to it from Indonesia. Like, that's literally the only way they have seen it. Like, you know. So
well, I think it's getting that sweet spot. You know, no one minds paying. That's the way it is now. You know, but and lads will pay for that money, but the problem is they won't keep paying for it. You know, it's if you had it small and often, I think is and keeping people sweet. Like I tell you, I give you an idea of value for money. I walked into the junior final on Friday night. It was a £5 in, and I was prepared to pay €10 or €15, even though it was a one-off final. And I said, "Geez, a £5. Geez, that's brilliant. Are you sure?" And said, "No, it's £5 in." And I said, "That's great value. Come in and look at a county final." And I felt good about it. And you know, you're in a good. You feel, "Geez, fair play. That's good." You know, you're trying to get a crowd in. There was camogie final on beforehand, and I know with the streaming, there is cost.
That was actually a good idea too. I was wondering why the match at 8:00. We were coming back from the airport, and I knew the match at 8:00. I was wondering why, and that's actually good from the county board and the camogie. That
was brilliant, and the clubs like Burn Rangers involved, you had a crowd in there, and I thought that was nice, and I felt good. And the streaming is a great idea. The service is brilliant. The commentary was brilliant. Everyone was so complimentary about it. I just think the price, it's the idea of, you know, maybe looking at it a little bit in terms of, I know you have to make money, but are you better off looking at it in terms of small and often is better than hitting people, you know, big and leaving them with a poor taste in their mouth. Like I said, there's an example of a couple of friends of mine who would have looked at it yesterday. You know, the ladies' football's on the fine, which is fine, but they would have looked at the hurling lads from Galway, another lad, you know, a couple of lads from Offaly would have looked at it, but when they saw the price, said, "No, you know what I mean, we're not going to do that sort of thing." And you know, it's a great initiative and it's a great idea, and you have to be progressive. But maybe from our point of view, maybe small and often might be a better way. Like your television license for the year is 160 quid or 180 quid, whatever it is. You know what I mean? You look at it like that in terms of your games. So, you know, maybe it's something that might be reviewed. But it's in fairness, you have to try things, and you have to give great credit to the county board and the people in there in the streaming service for doing that. You know,
even the dog is getting about there.
Just mentioned there, Kevin. Did you not get Mark Brennan this year?
Yeah, I was in the
Ireland final.
the AOB section that was going to come to there. Shout outs to Mark Brennan, who was obviously involved with Meath, and they won the Ireland yesterday. Well done. And
Actually, Kevin,
also
sorry,
Brian Tracy.
Brian Tracy, that's on today, is it? The puck
The long
fada?
puck is today, yeah.
The ladies football, like I didn't see the matches yesterday. I seen a bit of first game. Ashling Donner for Laois, that deserves some mention. Like to do it for Dan. Like I wasn't tuned into it yesterday as we're at the matches, and I seen the clips last night, and I said, "Is this the woman that was, Brendan Quigley's sister that do it for Dan's mother?" Like, what a woman! Like, Jesus, some achievement. Like to go back, she'd missed a couple of years, and like all that's going on there. Like, what a Jesus, hats off to her. Like, and fair play to Laois. Like, she was great. To go back and then get the win. Brilliant for her and fair play.
Anything else to add, lads, before we finish up? I think that's her, is it?
That's her. We never gave her predictions.
Oh yeah, sorry, we didn't actually. Yeah. Let's do it now. Let's do it now because, as I said, I don't know what's happening for the rest of the week. It's a fairly mad schedule. So righty. Bookmakers odds 9-4 Bindstown, and what was St. Mullins again? 2-1 on, is it?
I think something like that. 4-9 or something. 4-9, I think. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think let's look at just some very quick variables here, right? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of excitement in Bindstown, rightly so. The fact that it's only a week, I think it's actually a good thing that there's not 2 weeks there to get tied up. And I think in 2008, when we got to the county final, there was a week between the semi-finals and the final, Stevie, if memory serves me correct. And I think that is a good thing. From St. Mullins' point of view, right? Just look at it from their end. So they're probably, I'd say, they're only rather than if it's Rangers because they know what to expect. I'm not saying they don't know what to expect with Bindstown, but they've been there before. It's this is a different proposition, and they're very focused. I think they were down straight away into the river yesterday to get fresh, get ready, get the simple things right for the week ahead. Obviously, all the talk will be about Bindstown because they're back in the final. That'll probably suit St. Mullins. They're used to the big occasion. Bindstown are used to the big occasion with variable things that they've played in over the years, albeit in different codes. So I think when you weigh up all that in the jigs and reels, from my point of view, I think firstly it's going to be tight, but I am going to give a very hesitant nod to Bindstown. Very, very hesitant nod. Not by a whole lot, I don't think. Stevie.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Look, last year, I said the semi-final was a knockout game. They were comfortable 4-point winners in the wind-up, but they weren't going with the league game this year. You're guessing Paddy Bowen's not going to hit 7 points again in play. Then again, our Bindstown going to have a spread of scores that they had yesterday. These are things that you'll need your set of forwards and midfielders. 90% of them posting scores in play. You're hoping the free taking is going to go right because the frees were going to be going to be something like last year. They're not going to be too plentiful. I think what the Rangers get 1 point from play last year or free. But there'll probably be more. There will be more Sunday. Right, so Mullins have been there. Most of the team itself, not all the team has played in the county finals before. Bindstown Girls only 3 or 4 of them. I said it earlier, and Andrew Kane or Oisin Ryan coming off the bench could be the match winner. I'm going to go with St. Mullins by the minimum, but for no other reason than maybe a bit of experience on the day could do it, but that's barely a 50.5, 49.5 call. No, and I've been honest. I said it yesterday. I thought Bindstown Girls needed at least one goal more than Rangers, an actual physical green flag, and that's what they got. And I probably think next week they could need the same. And like Kevin Keogh caught 3 or 4 balls just under the crossbar. Got 7 of them, I think, against Bindstown Girls. They have to be sticking. I just go for St. Mullins that little bit, half a pint, just. But you're looking at Craig Doyle Alfie, these lads, they deserved that day in the sun. We joined Evan for years, and he was only 26 or 7 or 28 maybe when we won the first one, but he'd done a quarrel of hurling at that stage. And from a neutral point of view in the county, they're going to have the backing of everyone, and that's within reason. I'd say just look, experience might just get St. Mullins over the line. It'll depend a lot on James Doyle. I think if James Doyle is wouldn't say he was ineffective yesterday, but the game will bring him on. I suppose like a racehorse. If James Doyle is let, get done by a harm, could be the tilting point. But has he enough time to get up to match speed? He's a quality player, and a lad like him probably doesn't need that much time to do it. So I'll go with Sam Mullins, but
marginal.
That's marginal.
Okay, Joe.
Oh God. Yeah, I will go with. I think it's going to be a very close final again, like you're saying. I agree 100%. I think, have two sets of forwards that are capable of shooting the lights out if they're on their day. You know what I mean? I think St. Mullins showed it yesterday with their spread of scores. I think Bagnallstown have that electric pace inside. That maybe that goal little threat. What do I think it come down to? I think it might come down maybe to that little bit of impact, or maybe that bounce off the bench as well. And but I think it'll be very, very close. I think if you need that, the thing I suppose that worry me about, if from a St. Mullins point of view, in terms of worry, like about from a Bagnallstown point of view about St. Mullins, is that they are always able to produce it on the big day. And I was speaking to a Mount Leinster Rangers person yesterday, and he made a very fair point. He says even when we bet, he said St. Mullins in finals, he says we needed to be 10 or 12 points a better team in order to put them away. He says because they're just a different beast, and come knockout hurling, as we spoke about before. I do think Bagnallstown Gales, in my eyes, will shade this. I think that yesterday, that confidence that they got from the win, not necessarily even the win, but how they dug it out after maybe a poor start that maybe might have rattled their cages and got doubts kind of back in their minds about previous times when they've got off to a bad start. I think that will keep them. That to me was a big thing. So I'm just going to give Bagnallstown Gales a nod. I think it'll be a very, very close final. I don't think there'll be a whole lot in it. I think it'll be a forwards final. I think there's great firepower on both sides, and it'll be just down then to what set of backs can manage it a little bit better. And I just do think that Bagnallstown Gales might have that little bit of punch off the bench that might make a difference in the end.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, Tommy Murphy or Leo McGough might have to help us out with this. Paddy Robinson was in touch last night. He wanted to know when was the last time a team from Bagnallstown beat Munster Rangers in the senior championship, and I actually couldn't think of a time when Rangers were Rangers that Bagnallstown did that. I'm well open to correction on that.
I texted TJ Byrne this morning. He reckons it could be 2000 or 2001. No.
Yeah, that's.
I text Leo as well. I got no answer yet. I can't.
Yeah. Look, during the week, as you said, we don't know for definite what the plans are. We will have some plans. But my thanks to the two buckos here with us for the championship. We'll see what happens over the course of the weekend. Best luck if you're on the streaming duty, Steve-O.
Yep.
Enjoy it. It's one thing I have to say. Being involved with Casey Laura previously, commentating on a county final is special as well. It's a great honour and a great privilege to be able to do it. So definitely enjoy the occasion and savor the same time.
Maybe get the haircut.
Get the haircut. Yeah. The players, the mentors, the officials, the county board people, the stewards, everyone that's involved in making county final day special. The pipe band of us there, Fiesta if they're there. Very best luck. And,
is there a DJ on as well afterwards for you, Stevie?
DJ and Des are over now. We met Quarlet over in Mallorca. They're asking for Kevin Regan. I didn't know who he was. Hadn't a clue who he was.
That's good. That's what
when I Google a lad and you see, you should know him. It's fairly embarrassing, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he was. There wasn't a word of him during the game. Like, he was a normal Joe Soap, and then after the match, then he was saying he was from the same club as Clifford, and
Mm.
he saw the helmet and raised 25 grand. Jesus Christ, like it was top of humble man now.
Oh, Paul Nagel's a gentleman,
yeah.
absolute gentleman. Yeah,
So
couldn't get
Don't know how he
better.
got. I don't know how he got mixed up with you then.
You're not with Stevie or me.
Well,
I
I'm
wonder which.
just going to throw it out there. Leave it open.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that, lads. Thanks a
Yeah.
million again.
No
Chat to
bother.
you. Mind yourselves. And
No.
thanks to our sponsors, Cork and Precast, thanks, DB Recovery, Craig Carney Web Design, Balloons and Sweet Treats, Brendan Cabinet Furniture, and Breege Nolan Physiotherapy. If you haven't done already, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Left Wing Back. We do have a Buy Me a Coffee link. If you're liking what we're doing over the course of the championship, you can support our efforts for the price of a coffee. Not compulsory, but it's there if you wish to do so. And thanks to everyone who's viewed and listened throughout the course of the championship, liked, shared, all that kind of stuff. It really does matter. And if you're an Apple Podcast or Spotify listener, there's an option to hit 5 stars. That helps us as well massively, you know. So thanks to everyone. Happy county final week to those in St. Mullins and in and Bindstown, obviously intermediate level with Michael and Rangers, and under 20s with Nae Breed and Carntown. Very exciting week, very special week. And as we said, enjoy it. And we'll keep our content flowing throughout the week. As you said, Tom Doyle will be featuring over the next couple of days, Jamie Whelan as well. And we might get one or two other bits and bobs done over the duration of the week. But until next time, take care.